Can a jewel destroy a queen's dignity? Can it become a weapon more dangerous than any sword? When Catherine de' Medici's husband lavished diamonds and rubies, not on her, but on his mistress, it wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation, broadcast in gemstones. But Catherine waited. And after Henry II's death, she demanded those jewels back, reclaiming her power, one glittering revenge at a time. Across centuries, jewels weren't just symbols of power, they were power. Cleopatra dissolved a priceless pearl just to shame a Roman general. A forged necklace helped bring down Marie Antoinette. And one scandalous crown sent shockwaves through Edwardian England. These aren't fairy tales of pretty things. They're real stories of vengeance, seduction, betrayal, and how a jewel, placed on the wrong neck, could change the course of history. Midnight Jewels, Catherine de' Medici's daring seizure of the king's gifts to his mistress. For Catherine de' Medici, queen consort to King Henry II of France, humiliation at court was relentless and highly visible. Her husband's mistress, Diane de Poitiers, did not simply enjoy his affection. She became the public face of royal favour. Henry entrusted Diane with custody of key crown jewels, letting her wear symbols traditionally reserved for the queen. Diamonds, pearls, and emeralds that had belonged to French queens now gleamed on Diane's neck and fingers, signalling to the court who truly wielded authority. This was not a minor slight. For years, Catherine endured the reality of Diane's ascendancy. Married young and facing suspicion as an Italian outsider, Catherine's early years were marked by isolation and the struggle to assert her legitimacy. Diane, meanwhile, was more than just a mistress. She acted as Henry's advisor, enjoyed near unlimited access to the king, and held the court's attention with precision and skill. The jewels Henry gave her were not merely tokens of affection. They were unmistakable emblems of power that reinforced Diane's untouchable position. Catherine's resentment grew as she watched Diane occupy not only her role in the king's life, but also the physical symbols of her authority. In the French court, royal jewels were more than decoration. They were statements of order, hierarchy, and legitimacy. To see Diane wear them was to see her own status eroded in front of the entire nobility. For years, Diane wore not just Catherine's diamonds, but Catherine's place. Everything changed in the summer of 1559, when Henry died suddenly in a jousting accident. In the aftermath, the balance of power shifted overnight. Diane, acutely aware of her vulnerability, wrote to Catherine in an attempt to seek pardon and retain some measure of favour. But Catherine acted swiftly and decisively. She summoned Diane before dawn and demanded the immediate return of the crown jewels, as well as the surrender of prized estates like the Château de Chenonceau. In this pre-dawn summons, Diane had little choice but to comply. The jewels and properties that had once signified her extraordinary influence were now repossessed in a single, calculated move. Catherine's actions were not about personal adornment or simple revenge. By reclaiming the jewels and banishing Diane from court, she sent a clear message. The authority of a queen could outlast even the most favoured mistress. Catherine's swift reclamation of her regalia and estates marked the end of Diane's dominance and the beginning of her own. She would soon step into the role of regent, shaping the future of France as a formidable matriarch and strategist. From reclaiming her stolen regalia, we turn to a queen who used a single pearl to rewrite the rules of engagement. The billion-dollar gulp, Cleopatra's pearl challenge that humiliated Rome. Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, understood that power often rested on what others believed about you. In her rivalry with Rome, she recognized that perception could be more decisive than any army. While Rome prided itself on discipline and restraint, Cleopatra leaned into the empire's fascination and suspicion with Eastern luxury. she crafted a spectacle designed to turn Roman values upside down, using opulence itself as a weapon. The scene unfolded at a banquet she hosted for Mark Antony, the Roman general whose alliance with Cleopatra was both personal and political. Surrounded by Roman officers, Cleopatra proposed a wager. She claimed she could spend a fortune so vast on a single meal that it would stun Antony and his entourage. The challenge seemed absurd. How could even the richest queen spend such an astronomical sum in one evening? Antony laughed, expecting a parade of rare foods or extravagant entertainment. But Cleopatra had something far more audacious in mind. As the banquet progressed, the food was lavish but not extraordinary, rich, exotic, yet not the spectacle Antony anticipated. All eyes were on Cleopatra. Then, as the room settled, she removed one of her earrings. Each earring held a pearl so large that, as Pliny the Elder later recounted, it was among the world's most magnificent. Without hesitation, Cleopatra dropped the pearl into a goblet of strong vinegar. The Romans watched in silence as the pearl began to dissolve. Vinegar's acidity breaks down the calcium carbonate of pearls, turning what seemed an unbreakable symbol of wealth into liquid. When the transformation was complete, Cleopatra lifted the goblet and drank it in a single, deliberate motion. In that moment, she had consumed a treasure worth a fortune by any measure, one of the greatest displays of wealth ever witnessed. Antony conceded defeat, unable to match or even comprehend the scale of her gesture. But Cleopatra's performance was never just about extravagance. By destroying a jewel so rare and valuable, she sent a message. Egypt's resources were so immense that even its most precious treasures could be sacrificed without hesitation. This act was a direct challenge to Rome's narrative of Eastern decadence. Cleopatra turned the image of the lavish, dangerous queen into an assertion of power, showing that she could outshine and outmaneuver her rivals not only through alliances and armies, but through sheer spectacle. The story of the Pearl Banquet quickly became legend, solidifying Cleopatra's reputation as a ruler who wielded luxury as a form of political theatre. Her ability to command attention and redefine the rules of engagement set her apart, ensuring her place both in history and in the Roman imagination. In a world where reputation could shift the balance of power, Cleopatra's calculated excess left an impression that would echo far beyond her lifetime. As we've seen, a single jewel can become the centerpiece of a contest for dominance. In another era, an even more elaborate piece of jewelry would ignite a scandal so intense it helped bring down a monarchy. The necklace that sparked revolution, Marie Antoinette's glittering downfall. How did a necklace Marie Antoinette never even wanted become central to the downfall of a monarchy? In 1772, King Louis XV commissioned an extraordinary diamond necklace for his mistress, Madame du Barry. Valued at 2 million livres, an astronomical sum even by royal standards, the piece featured 647 diamonds and was designed to be the most extravagant display of wealth in Europe. But when Louis XV died unexpectedly, the necklace went undelivered, leaving the jewelers with a fortune in gems and no buyer. For years, it remained unsold, an object of desire and frustration, until it became the centerpiece of one of France's most notorious scandals. Jeanne de Valois-Saint-Remy, a woman with a dubious claim to royal blood and a history of debts, saw the unsold necklace as her opportunity. Her scheme targeted Cardinal Louis de Rohan, who was desperate to regain favor with Queen Marie Antoinette after years of estrangement. Jeanne convinced Rohan that she had secret access to the Queen and that Marie Antoinette wished to acquire the necklace discreetly. Jeanne's manipulation relied on Rohan's ambition and vanity, persuading him to act as the Queen's intermediary in the purchase. To make her deception convincing, Jeanne forged letters supposedly from Marie Antoinette, instructing Rohan to arrange the acquisition. She even orchestrated a late-night meeting in the gardens of Versailles, where Rohan believed he met the Queen herself. In reality, the woman was Nicole Leguay d'Oliva, an actress chosen for her resemblance to Marie Antoinette. Rohan, blinded by hope, never questioned the authenticity of the encounter. In 1785, he negotiated the purchase, agreeing to pay the jewelers in installments for the Queen. The necklace was delivered, not to Marie Antoinette, but to Jeanne, who quickly dismantled it and sold the diamonds on the black markets of Paris and London. When the jewelers, still unpaid, pressed for their money, they appealed directly to the Queen. The scandal erupted in August 1785. Cardinal de Rohan was arrested in the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, and Jeanne was apprehended soon after. The trial that followed became a public sensation. Pamphlets circulated throughout France, mocking and accusing Marie Antoinette. Although evidence showed she was innocent, the public refused to believe it. The forged letters, which Rohan had failed to scrutinize, included the signature Marie Antoinette de France, a mistake, as French royals never used surnames in their signatures, a detail that later exposed the fraud. This scandal magnified public resentment toward royal excess and became a rallying cry for revolutionaries. Marie Antoinette's reputation, already marred by suspicions of extravagance and foreign influence, was irreparably damaged. Historians note that this affair sealed her fate, making her a symbol of royal excess and a perfect scapegoat for revolutionary anger. The necklace itself vanished, its diamonds scattered across Europe, a fitting metaphor for the monarchy's disintegration. Even as the monarchy crumbled, royal rivalries over jewels continued, but now the battleground shifted from palace chambers to the public eye. Diamonds in the press. Queen Alexandra's secret leak that shamed the new queen. In 1910, after the death of King Edward VII, a new contest for the British crown jewels began, not in the shadows of palace corridors, but in the glare of public scrutiny. Queen Alexandra, now Dowager Queen, found herself in direct conflict with Queen Mary, the new queen consort. The jewels at stake were more than ceremonial. They were the emblems of queenship, charged with history and meaning. Protocol dictated that Alexandra pass certain pieces to Mary, but Alexandra hesitated, especially when it came to jewels with deep sentimental ties to her late husband and Queen Victoria. At the heart of the dispute were Queen Victoria's regal circlet and a smaller diamond crown, both of which Alexandra had worn for years and now felt were part of her own legacy. For Mary, inheriting these pieces was about more than tradition. It was about establishing her authority as the new queen. Negotiations quickly became tense. Alexandra had spent decades shaping her public image and wielding influence as queen. For her, giving up these jewels felt like relinquishing part of her identity and erasing her role in the monarchy. Mary, meanwhile, recognized the power these jewels held in projecting royal legitimacy. The situation escalated quietly, but neither woman appeared willing to yield. Seeking to tip the balance, Alexandra quietly briefed a trusted courtier who passed the scoop to the Times. The story soon appeared in print, stating that Alexandra would retain Queen Victoria's miniature diamond crown for her own personal use. This public acknowledgement of Alexandra's claim was a strategic move. By making the dispute public, Alexandra positioned herself as a dignified widow holding on to cherished mementos, garnering public sympathy. The press coverage put Mary in a difficult position, as any attempt to press further for the jewels risked making her seem insensitive or grasping. The rivalry became unmistakable at the coronation of King George V and Queen Mary in June 1911. Queen Mary was crowned with a newly crafted diadem set with the Koh-i-Noor diamond, a striking symbol of her new role. Yet Alexandra, seated in a place of honor, made her own statement. She wore her late husband's regal collar of diamonds and Queen Victoria's miniature crown, both gleaming under the lights of Westminster Abbey. The effect was deliberate. Alexandra, even in widowhood, refused to be overshadowed. Her appearance was not only a testament to her enduring influence, but also a subtle rebuke, demonstrating that seniority and sentiment could still command attention. These actions were more than a personal struggle over heirlooms. Alexandra's decision to use the press to her advantage signaled a new era in royal strategy, one where media and public opinion could be leveraged as tools of power. Her move foreshadowed how public perception and media savvy would shape the monarchy throughout the 20th century. But sometimes, the battle for jeweled authority was resolved with less publicity and more calculation. When a queen had the opportunity to claim the jewels of a rival who could no longer contest her, the decision became a statement of power and legacy. Stolen pearls, stolen crown. Elizabeth Fee's silent triumph over Mary, Queen of Scots. Elizabeth's rivalry with Mary, Queen of Scots, was shaped by more than political maneuvering. It was a contest waged through symbols, lineage, and the power of appearance. Mary, born to the Stuart dynasty, carried a claim to the English throne that many considered stronger than Elizabeth's. After she was forced to abdicate her Scottish throne, Mary fled to England, seeking protection. Instead, she became a royal prisoner, a living threat to Elizabeth's rule and a magnet for Catholic plots. For nearly 2 decades, Mary was kept under close guard. After plots like the Babington conspiracy were uncovered, Elizabeth authorized Mary's execution in 1587, a decision that would resonate far beyond the scaffold. In the aftermath, the spoils of this rivalry included not just a crown, but also the personal treasures that had defined Mary's image as a queen. Among these were her pearls. One report noted her pearls were as big as nutmegs, making them instantly recognizable. After Mary fled Scotland, officials seized her jewels and sold her pearls, which Elizabeth purchased. The acquisition was quiet, but the symbolism was unmistakable. These pearls, once draped around Mary's neck as a sign of her majesty and divine right, would soon serve a very different purpose. Elizabeth, ever conscious of the power of visual propaganda, understood the message she could send by wearing her rival's pearls. Pearls had become central to Elizabeth's public persona. They adorned her portraits, were woven into her elaborate gowns, and reinforced her cultivated image as the Virgin Queen. By incorporating Mary's pearls into her own regalia, Elizabeth transformed the ornaments that once proclaimed Mary's status into symbols of her own triumph. Every time Elizabeth wore those pearls, it was a silent reminder of her cousin's downfall. The act was calculated. Elizabeth's portraits, meticulously staged to feature the crown, scepter, and orb, now also displayed pearls that had belonged to her greatest rival. For those at court who recognized them, the message was clear. Mary's claim had been extinguished, her memory reduced to jewels that now glorified the victor. Elizabeth's mastery of image-making turned these pearls into tokens of dominance, reinforcing her legitimacy and reminding allies and adversaries alike of her authority. This transformation of Mary's jewels into emblems of Elizabeth's reign was more than an act of personal vindication. It was a powerful demonstration of how objects, especially jewels, could be used to shape narratives, influence perception, and consolidate power. The pearls, styled in Elizabeth's distinctive manner, became part of the visual language of her rule. Their presence in courtly life and royal portraiture was a subtle but persistent signal that history's course could be altered not only by force, but by the careful appropriation of symbols. The story of Elizabeth and Mary's pearls shows how even the smallest tokens could carry the weight of dynasties, signaling victory and rewriting the legacy of a queen. Throughout history, royal jewels have played far more than a decorative role. They served as instruments of power, propaganda, and rivalry, silent witnesses to the ambitions and shifting alliances of those who wore them. From quiet midnight raids to fuel for revolution, these jewels reshaped kingdoms and reputations alike. Which royal treasure's untold story should we reveal next? If this glimpse into jewel-fueled power intrigues you, subscribe and ring the bell to uncover more hidden dramas of history. The smallest details, pearls, diamonds, and crowns, often hold the keys to understanding how empires rose and fell.